Hello everybody out there and welcome back to another Dark Avenger comic book review. In this review, the books we will be reviewing were released on
March 16, 2016.
And honestly, there weren't that many bad books this week. I really actually enjoyed 90% of the books I read, which is a really good thing. And as you guys know, Mike's behind the camera because he covers all the digital stuff. As always, this is a bit late, so we're going to fly through a couple of the books. So without further ado, let's start with the books.
James Bond, issue number 5.
Guilty pleasure read. I really enjoy reading it each and every month. It comes out from Titan. It has a really interesting story. I read it more leisurely, so I'm still reading this issue as we speak, but I'm really enjoying James Bond. If you like James Bond, I would definitely recommend this comic.
Assassin's Creed, issue number 6.
This story I'm starting to kind of fall out a little bit with. I'm not... When it comes to Assassin's Creed, I'm used to seeing, them going back in time and really living in the assassin time. This book is more focused on present day and this girl who has an attachment, who is, has the bloodline that's attached to assassins, but we're not seeing that too much anymore. We did see a little bit towards the end of this issue with another one of the characters, but I don't know. I'm gonna hold on to it a bit longer. I did enjoy the artwork. Is gorgeous in this book. I can absolutely give you guys 100% on that. Story's good too. It's just when I'm thinking Assassin's Creed, I'm thinking back in time kind of deal. I want to see more of that instead of present day. So we'll wait and see where this book goes. I'll definitely be back for the next issue. And Templars is starting up soon.
Huck, issue number 5.
This book was a really good book. I enjoyed it. It was a bit predictable because Huck and his mom were captured. There was a whole side story that really kind of didn't catch my interest, but we get a little bit more about that guy that pretended to be Huck's brother, and they want to basically dissect both of them, to figure out how their powers work. And then finally, Huck, there was a very warm moment between him and his mother, but Huck says, wait, you can make anybody do anything when you tell them to do something, right? So tell me to break the unbreakable glass. And guess what? At the end of the issue, that's exactly what he does. It says to be concluded. Hopefully it's just for the first story arc and we'll be getting a second one soon, but I guess it all depends.
Monstress, issue number 4.
Another one of my guilty pleasures. I love the artwork in this book. The story is really, really gripping. If you guys have the chance, it's a pretty long book, though. I've yet to finish this one. It's pretty long, but I really enjoy the characters. It reminds me a bit of Inuyasha, just because of the characters that are in it and the way they're, the way the atmosphere is and what's going on in the book. I enjoy it so much when it comes out.
Alright, so we have 2 Deviation books starting with your book. In a world where Optimus Prime never died, in Transformers Deviations one-shot.
I enjoyed this. This is basically I have to agree with what people said that, they took a 90-minute movie and tried to compress it into one book, where this could have easily have been a miniseries, and it would have been made more sense. There was a lot of cutting around and jumping around, and it didn't make quite much sense. But basically, in this book, it's what if Optimus Prime ended up killing Megatron instead of instead of hesitating, not pulling the trigger, and then ending up getting shot, and then Megatron gets shot, but it's not a fatal wound. We all saw the movies, or most of you have seen the 86 cartoon movie, so I don't want to go too into detail, but Optimus lives, and basically imagine the Transformers movie, but with Optimus in it. Hot Rod is still with Ultra Magnus, but it's not the way it was in the movie, obviously, and in the end, though, unfortunately, when Rodimus opens the Matrix to save, all of humanity from Unicron, unfortunately, instead of, evolving into Rodimus Prime and, being the next holder of the Matrix, he ends up dying. That's the big deviation, I guess you could say. So Megatron's dead. Hot Rod ends up dying. Starscream, who becomes Unicron's herald, basically becomes a combiner, but he can combine with any Decepticon he wants kind of deal. So he becomes this huge combiner, and in the end, though, the Autobots win, and it was a really good book. I enjoyed it. It was nice harkening back to the movie and seeing what would have happened or what could have happened, and I enjoyed it. For what it was worth, I enjoyed it. Were there many plot holes here and there and skips that really didn't make sense? Yes. Still a fun read.
Alright, next deviation book's my book. In a world where the Ghostbusters never cross streams, in Ghostbusters Deviations one shot.
In other words, Stay Puft lived.
Right. So this takes place basically in the first Ghostbusters movie where, I found this book to be very weird. How the Ghostbusters were trying to help Stay Puft get back home to where he lived before he went through that portal. And Stay Puft actually talked. And I'm looking at the book. My eyes were like, what? and some of the Ghostbusters character and the artwork was just not really.
I saw
good.
the artwork and I have to agree there.
Yeah. But all in all, it was just a really weird book. And then when they fought against Gozer and they have like all these Stay Puft pictures and all the Stay Puft poops that were mentioned, little minions and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. They were trying to just help him get home, and that was really the whole basics of the movie. And even they said what happened after the movie, and if that would have happened after the movie, that would have been one weird movie. But all in all, I guess if you're into weirdness, you could get it. But if not, then stay away. Next one, Zenescope. And it feels like it's been a while since I read this, actually a long while. Escape from Monster Island, issue number 2 of 6. Now, from what I read from the last issue, if I remember correctly, it's where a team is trying to find a cure for cancer, and they have to go through Monster Island to find this cure, and they have at least 24 hours to get through there. So they are on Monster Island, and they encounter with all these monsters, and one of them actually got wounded from that. And he's like saying, oh, I don't know if I'm going to turn into them, but if I do, you could kill me and whatnot. And the thing is that they have this Cyclops picture, and not in this issue, but also the next issue. So I don't know if this is going to play like a big role, if that's where they need to go to find this stuff. I mean, it was very involved, but it was a really fun read. I mean, up to you guys if you want to pick it up, but I really hope the next issue comes out soon, and because I really enjoyed the book. This one I could give a little bit of, and you read this too, Lords of the Jungle issue number 1 featuring Tarzan and Sheena.
Yeah, I kind of fell out of it halfway through because Tarzan was in the last page. It was all about Shayna, and I was like, oh, okay.
It's just really just Shayna going through a different time period because of this a river that she found where these men were chasing her or something like that. And like you said, Tarzan only appeared in the last issue, so when I see Tarzan and Sheena, I expect it to be a story where they meet. Not where
they are in the
one
next
of the
issue.
characters in one page, And Tarzan was in a suit, which kind of was like...
No, that's normal. Tarzan did go back to England.
He did go back to England. Okay, I didn't know that, so there you go. Alright, now, Big Trouble in Little China, issue number 22. This book was halfway okay. It's just really just Jack going through the phase of Lopan now taking over his body, because what we saw from last issue, he is no longer just Jack Byrne, he's just this other person. And it's just really going through like so many events and stuff, and it was like really long dialogue, along with a lot of great fight scenes in the book. Like I said, up to you guys if you want to see about it. There was one part of the book that I can't seem to remember that really stood out to me. But, I wish I remembered. But it was really something that stood out to me, though, and definitely checked out. Along with his sidekick friend, too, Jack Byrne teams up with. Red Sonja, issue number 3. Red Sonja meets up with Savis, who is now the king ruler of the homeland. And from what we saw in the last issue, she's not so happy to see him because not only is he king, that she wants to be queen, but he's making the people as his slaves, and she doesn't really like how he's like treating the homeland. So he's just talking about his origin story, about how he became king from his old man, who then he became king, ruler of the land, and yada yada yada. It's just really all about his character, and he asks her to join him because she always wanted to be queen, and they once had that Bound Chicka Wow Wow thing together from last issue. And then she just turned him down, and it's just like a whole big fight out between those two, and then him just getting revenge on her because she said no. You know how people are like that in the book, so you could probably get the picture of how the whole book is. But all in all, and she also meets up with someone else that she was with. I mean, she was with a lot of guys actually, and
She was
he
with
actually,
Conan as well.
Oh yeah, well Conan I think was a perfect match for her, but that's my opinion. The Spirit issue number 9. Now in this, we find out more about the tiger thing from what we saw in the last issue, and the Spirit wants to look up more stuff about it, but he encounters someone who is after the old guy, the detective, who was sniping him actually, when we saw in the last issue. The Spirit goes up to him, and then they have like this little fight between each other, and he explains why. And you can find out more if you want to read the book, because it was like a long, huge thing about why he's doing that. The thing though is that at the end of the book, where the Spirit goes into the graveyard and goes under the basement, the guy with the sniper with the weird right eye, reminds me of All Star Western's character actually, with that, sees him going under there. So he not only knows about going after the old guy, but now he wants to go after the Spirit and knows his underground lair. Yeah, things are gonna get tight in this book, and it's really something to look into.
Big stuff.
Big stuff, absolutely. Wrath of the Eternal Warrior issue number 5. Now, I read this book in like under 10 minutes or so, and it just talks about the after effects about what happened in the last issue. It was just him going through all run around. I feel that his family was like a little bit different than what we saw in the last issue, because it was talking about before he went out to go against the demons. I think it was maybe his first wife probably, how she was killed because these barbarians came in and took over his town, and everybody was killed including his wife. And they abducted his child because he was the chosen one or something, the something one, can't remember what it was, but I think chosen one, and he was a baby by the way. So his mission is to go after the person who took his child and revenge of killing his wife.
Interesting.
Kind of. What I noticed about Valiant with Bloodshot and Eternal Warrior, they've been doing Punisher-esque, if you've noticed, right?
Yeah, I've noticed Punisher-esque in a lot of things.
Yeah, it's really something else. And a fun read has to go to Angry Birds Comics issue number 3. 2 stories was really about, the first story was like Red, where he was guarding the eggs, and allergy seasons with the dandelions. The pigs used that against him to take the eggs back into the lair, and they used the kites from one of the blackbirds and the yellow one. I don't remember the name, so I'm just going to go by the color yellow and black. And the 3 bluebirds actually play a huge role by actually saving the eggs and then bringing it back to Red. And that was really the whole base of the story. And then the second story is just about the butcher who tried to get the king to like new things, and he asked someone to help him out, and then, or else he get porridge, and then he's trying to help him, and he's like saying, you know what, I like porridge anyway. And I'm like, wow, after all that, really? Fun read. Really good. Alright, now we're going into the big 2, starting with you.
Alright, pass me my Coke after you show. Oh, you want to do that?
I'll do it now then. Okay.
Sorry, guys, I have a bit of a...
It's allergies, probably.
Could very well be.
Alright. So, Batman&Robin Eternal, issue number 24.
I love this issue. It really focused a lot on Harper. This literally fell out of my top only because I hadn't finished reading all of my books yet. And I like how Mother tried to basically seduce Harper over to her side. You've got Dick trying to get to Mother. You've got all the Bat family fighting these controlled kids by Mother all around the world. Spoiler gets into the mix. Harper's brother's helping out at main base. You got all this mayhem and craziness going on, and I loved it. And it looks like Harper's kind of starting to fall for Mother's... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? her sweet talk, but I think that it's all just to get at Mother, to get like what she wants to do, and then obviously Harper's going to turn on Mother. I don't see Harper turning to the dark side, so to speak. I really enjoyed this issue. I'm so excited. 2 more issues to go till Batman and Robin Eternal is over.
Legends of Tomorrow issue number 1.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. There's several stories in this book. The only story I read was the Firestorm one. I really enjoyed it. When we got into the next one, which involved the Metal Men and a few other characters, I got very bored. This is a very big book. It was 80 plus pages. I probably will start reading this leisurely then for review purposes. I enjoyed the Firestorm story for what it was. Would I say it's worth $5? That's up to you guys. It depends on what characters you like. And I enjoyed the Firestorm story a lot. If I had more time to read the Metal Men story, I would have. I just didn't have enough time. It's an 80-page giant. But from what I read, I really enjoyed it. And I definitely would say check it out at your local comic shop and make your own decisions. But as always, if you're a fan of Firestorm, you're definitely going to want to check this out. I enjoyed it. Good artwork. Both stories had very good artwork. It's just I could not get through the second story in time to do this review.
Poison Ivy, Cycle of Life and Death, issue number 3.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the 2 babies, and somebody's framing Poison Ivy for all of these deaths, so it's like that Who Framed Poison Ivy kind of deal. And I gotta admit, I agree with Mike Spider-Slayer and a few of the others on Comic Frontline who said it could be the guy that's like kind of in love with her, who's always around at the wrong time. I'm enjoying this book. I did not expect to be liking this book at all. I expected to read the first issue and be done with it. I'm really pleasantly surprised that I'm enjoying this book a lot, and we get to see Catwoman in this issue as well, so that was another huge plus.
Robin, Son of Batman, issue number 10.
This is one of the 2 books you're going to see in this review that the only reason I'm still reading it is because Rebirth is coming in 2 months, so I kind of want to finish this series off. It's an okay book. The artwork's all right. Robin looks a bit too kiddie for me. Talia ends up abducting, I forgot her name, but Nobody, the girl that Robin ends up saving, or getting her out of her father's business, and Talia ends up taking her because she wants to get at Damien because things are going missing. It was just so, Talia being Talia basically, and Talia's obviously the main antagonist, and she's going to be the antagonist probably for the rest of the story. It was a nice story, but again, it's still Damien just trying to redeem himself, and that's what this entire book's been about, except for when we had the Robin Wars that happened. Now we're right back to the kind of same formula. They tried to make Damien like Tim Drake's Robin series, and Damien has good potential. And I think when Rebirth happens, if it's true that Jonathan, which is basically the old DCU Superman and Lois' son, if he comes into being the new Superboy, which is what was teased in that picture, which I hope is true, if I could see the 2 of them and their dynamic being like Tim and Connor, possibly. So it will be interesting to see if that happens and if we do get another Robin series at some point. This series, though, Robin, Son of Batman, maybe because Batman's also gone, so that's another thing, and he's coming back next week in Batman 50. That's this coming episode's book. So I'm looking forward to when Bruce is back as Batman and everything kind of falls back into status quo. Not saying Rebirth status quo, just back where Batman is Batman again. So we'll see.
Titans Hunt, issue number 6.
This was a good book, but this book brings to question a few things. Are we talking about the Titans of old, or are we just talking about Dick started a team and they forgot that they were the Teen Titans, and then just ironically and coincidentally, when Tim created his Teen Titans, he didn't realize that there was another Teen Titans team. I don't know, but we got to see Dick, Donna, and Garth fighting Mammoth. We find out backstory on we find a little bit out through Lilith about the antagonist Twister, and why the Titans had to forget about Twister, because basically they were his puppets, and the only way to get them to break the Twister's control was to basically forget there were ever Teen Titans or a team. And obviously this screwed up Roy, and it affected the rest. And what I liked was they did mention that Dove wasn't the Dove that was part of the team, hinting towards Hawk's brother, who was originally Dove. So this has potential to still be about the original Teen Titans sort of seeping into the new DC universe and the history starting to come back, or it's connected to the new DCU in some way. I don't know, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm really interested in seeing how this whole thing is going to wrap up in the end. But I like it. It's just a bit slow. I think there's only about 2 or 3 issues left, so hopefully everything will wrap up nicely and it won't be a rushed ending or a very anticlimactic ending. I'm really enjoying it for what it's worth right now, though. I really like it a lot. And we get to see 2 other characters who I won't spoil show up at the end of the issue because the Teen Titans are starting to remember they were Titans, and now there's another group of people who are looking to stop them, or basically to eliminate them so they never become Twister's puppets again.
All New Inhumans issue number 5.
It was an interesting read. The only reason I'm having the Inhumans in this review is because they're both new story arc. Well, this one's a new story arc anyway. Another tower appears in China. Spider-Man guest stars in this book, and him and Parker as Parker Industries, he shows up, and the scientists are trying to figure out what the tower is. The all-new Inhumans show up, but so does the China Defense Force, and the China Defense Force is against the Inhumans. And Spider-Man, he finds out what the tower is about, and he tells them, which kind of was bad because the person who told him said not to say anything. Like, she trusted him, but he's like, look, these are top scientists. They need full, disclosure so they know what they're doing. But then one of the leader of the China Defense Force tries to just lift it out of the ground and get rid of it, and then something bad happens. To be continued. Looks really interesting, I will say that. Will it continue on this review? I hope so. I really hope I can read it on time, but this is more of a leisure read because, as you guys will see, there are a lot of books. You can see it already that there are a lot of books this week.
The Uncanny Inhumans issue number 6.
This I enjoyed. Black Bolt, the Silent Room, and I love how there was a bomb diffusing thing going on between the Thinker and I don't remember who the other guy was, and this girl who has inhuman powers, and she has the ability to oh god, I forgot how she explained it, but she was able to cut the blood circulation to their brains, so they were slowly but surely getting stupider and stupider. And she's basically like, either you leave or you're going to leave brain dead. So that's why they end up standing up and leaving, because they were going brain dead. But Black Bolt gets involved in the big fight that was going on in the club, and it was a crazy awesome mess. His son is there, and he gets involved in what's going on, and something goes missing, and it was just a really fun issue. I enjoyed this a little bit more than All New Inhumans because I like the focal point on Black Bolt. I think this is another... Inhumans in general are more of a leisure read for me than a review read, but I really enjoyed both issues this week, and I wanted to share my thoughts on them.
All New X-Men issue number 6.
In my opinion, the best of the 2 X-Men books this week. But really, the other X-Men book we'll talk about as a setup. But this one, we got the ending to the Blob fight. We got to see Angel really release that. I love that they reference the Black Vortex here, because he releases his power that he got from the Black Vortex, and he gets a bit much. And you see that there's a lot of tension now between him and X-23, because at the end she's like, that was, and he's like, what? Reckless, crazy, dangerous, and she's like, no, I didn't mean that at all. And he's like, whatever, I need to go chill for a bit. And you can see that there's going to be a problem now. And in the beginning of the issue, she's trying to ignore the fact that she's very upset that her and Angel just broke up. And also, Scott gets kidnapped by Toad. Why? I don't know. We'll find out in the next issue. But I really found this book I'm enjoying All New X-Men for what it is. There were a few inconsistencies here and there. I like the artwork. I will say that a lot. Looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Captain Marvel issue number 3.
Another good issue. I enjoyed it. We find out that the ship might have done something to Carol, and she's starting to get Mar-Vel's memories. She's starting to see some of Mar-Vel's memories, which was the original Captain Marvel that gave Carol her Captain Marvel powers to begin with, and it's all connected to the ship because the ship has Kree DNA in it, and it enhances Kree DNA. But because Carol's only half Kree, instead of enhancing her powers, it's kind of weakening her. And there is a traitor in the station. We don't know who, but she attacks Lieutenant Brand, whom I can't stand in this book. I hate her. She drives me nuts. But it's not the person that Brand thinks it is. The question is, who is the traitor? And they finally got rid of the ship because they decided they're going to get rid of the ship because it's hurting Carol, and there's just nothing good to come of the ship because if it's slowly healing, and when it does fully heal, it's going to attack the station. So as they finally are able to get rid of this damn ship, another one shows up. And it ends with one leaving, but the other one coming in. And this is a really great... this is a Captain Marvel series I'm really enjoying. She's weakened, but now what's going to happen when this other ship shows up? Are both of them is the other ship going to come back? Are they going to attack the station? How is Carol going to deal with all this? I'm really interested in seeing where this goes.
Extraordinary X-Men issue number 8.
Now, this is the other X-Men book, which is mostly a setup. So, we get to see that there's something between Wolverine, Old Man Logan. I shouldn't call him Wolverine because he's not Wolverine. Old Man Logan and Storm. So, they're keeping the romance there, kind of. But then out of nowhere, all of these mutants, these new mutants pop up on Earth, and they're like, how is that possible that 6,000 of them are in this one place? Well, how did that happen? And it turns out the Sugar Man. I have no idea who this character is. It's the first time I'm hearing about this character. I don't want to say I'm very new to the X-Men universe, but I'm not so doctored in it that I know every single one of their rogue gallery. So it turns out Sugar Man has all these mutant embryos, and he wants to save them. He wants to he created an Ark. And we find out later on in the book that the Ark is a time-traveling device. But Colossus ends up taking some of the students with him to find out what's going on. They are fighting, Cerebrus fighting Sugar Man, who blows up, he grows into this big monster, and Colossus and the kids are trying to figure out how to get out because they're trapped inside this Ark. And the Ark disappears. They disappear with all the embryos. And the rest of the team shows up, but it's already too late. They're gone. Ilana stays behind, Magic stays behind, and Storm, it turns out Cerebra is able to track Colossus through time because it involves time travel, and I love it because what Old Man Logan said is exactly what I said. We find out that they were sent into the future, and when Old Man Logan said, "Oh, come on," that's what I said, because we went into the past with the all-new X-Men. Now we're going into the future to save Colossus and the students? Come on. But when they get there, it turns out the students are older. How did that happen? And where's Colossus? We see that in the very last page. Colossus is one of the 4 horsemen. So what does that mean? What's going on? We'll find out in the next issue. But now the X-Men are in the future. They have to save Colossus, figure out what's going on, and find a way back home. I'm excited. There was a side story with Magic and Doctor Strange and the little girl that Magic kind of took under her wing. Really good. I like this book, but this book was more of a setup more than anything else.
International Ironman issue number 1.
I didn't quite care for this book. I just couldn't get into it. First of all, the artwork really put me off with this book, and the story just didn't grasp me to the point where I'm like, oh my god, I want this and Invincible Iron Man. I really am enjoying Invincible Iron Man, and I will be continuing that. I'm just not feeling International Iron Man. I'll give it another shot. I'll try the second issue, but more than likely, I probably will not be continuing International Iron Man past issue 2. I'm just not feeling it. It's just a book that I'm not feeling.
The Infinity Entity, issue number 2.
Another honorable mention. I have to still finish it. I'm really enjoying it. If you guys want something really interesting, I would highly recommend checking out this book. I'm really enjoying it. I believe there's only 1 or 2 more issues left. We got to see Thanos in this book. We get to see a lot of stuff that happened in the past in the Marvel Universe in this book, and I really enjoyed it. I'm enjoying it up to where I'm at now. I'm going to finish it off probably tomorrow, right before we start into the new books. But I'm really enjoying it. It's something to look into. The artwork is gorgeous. I will say that much.
Web Warriors, issue number 5.
I'm giving the next issue a shot. If it does nothing for me like this issue, I am most likely going to take this book and put it in either the leisure read pile or the drop pile. I'm just not getting. Where Spider-Gwen, I kind of felt something at least. You know, Spider-Gwen and Web Warriors were always kind of even. Spider-Gwen, I came away with something from the last issue. Web Warriors has yet to really give anything to me to really hang on to. Now, I know Kane is somewhere out there, and it's all during Spider-Verse that this happened, that Kane disappeared. Will Kane come back through Web Warriors? Possibly, which is why I probably will keep it as a leisurely read. But Web Warriors, just I'm not feeling it as much as I wanted to. So we'll see where the next issue. The next issue is a new story arc. We'll see where that goes, and we'll go from there.
All right, now going into my books, and speaking of leisure or getting rid of probably, Martian Manhunter issue number 10. I really was uninterested in this book, and it does talk about the secret origins of John Jones, but it mostly talked about his his way on Mars, where Melvalzin, I don't know how the hell you say his name, how he was trying to save Mars, from everyone, and John Jones didn't know if he could trust him, but he tried. So as he did, he killed John Jones as his family, but then he came back and tried killing him, and then there was like a whole little thing, and the little boy who was known as John Jones was telling the story. And the person who was known as Biscuits actually gets killed by Mavasan. I don't know if you say his name right, at the end of the issue. And then that's where all of them are going to fight him probably in the next issue. Now, if this next issue is going to be another disappointing one, I am probably going to get rid of it completely because I can't... It doesn't really interest me.
Understandable.
I mean, the Mars one was and I don't know. That's what I think, but I'll see how the next issue holds me. Deadpool, the Mercs for Money, issue number 2. This one was a little bit okay. It was just really just Deadpool, who was going after other people who are after him for money, obviously, and that want to kill Deadpool. And after that, there was a bunch of other Deadpool sidekicks that was doing his job and everything. I really don't remember much of it, but I'm trying to remember, it's really just them trying to kill him, but he's still alive because he has that healing factor. So that's really the whole thing of the book. And he fights against Mephisto. Or there's actually something about that.
Interesting.
Which you should definitely check out. Silk issue number 6. In this one, we find out a little bit more of a inside character of Silk. About, her ways of why she gets angry. And we have Mockingbird, who actually talks with her about how also when she teams with Black Cat, how she's trying to tell him that she is not a friend of anybody's. But the reason why she joined with her is to burn Goblin Nation, but to also get a promotion and to feel like she fits in with Black Cat. And then we get a little bit of her backstory about, she's still finding that cure about the whole, with her being Silk. And there's just a whole bunch of other things where she's with friends. I think Spider-Woman, I think this was after she was pregnant in this universe, is going to be talking with her in the next issue, because it says next issue Spider-Woman.
Nice.
Not in the Spider-Woman comic book, but just
in this
that's
issue,
the name,
yeah.
Speaking of that, Spider-Woman issue number 5.
This was such a good issue. I enjoyed it.
This was a really great issue, all about the motherhood that Spider-Woman's going through. Now she had the baby boy from last issue.
And we found out she was artificially inseminated, which I kind of thought they were going to go with, so it's kind of funny.
And it's really just finding out, who the father is of the baby.
We don't know.
And we don't know who it is. But there's one person who watches over him. Oh, why does his name escape me? I had it, and... Well, he watches over him, and then thinking that he was all clumsy and everything, he was actually very responsible for babysitting her child. So
it allows Spider-Woman to actually be Spider-Woman, to give her son something to look up to.
Well, that, and to also, get out a little bit. But after from what she said, a few months, it's a little bit difficult at first. Now, I did crop this picture, actually, and I found a way of doing this. The Amazing Spider-Man Silk, issue number 5, it doesn't look like a little closed box. It looks like a much bigger picture. And the only short I could give about this book is that Peter Parker and Silk, I'll say Spider-Man Silk, they go back in time before Peter Parker turned into Spider-Man, and you know how if the present affects the future and yada yada yada, all that statement. Well, his Uncle Ben takes them to where Peter Parker was bit by the radioactive spider, but Uncle Ben comes in and swats the spider before it bit Peter Parker. And then Spider-Man and Peter Parker, they work together a little bit, you know. And I thought that was a little bit of a fun issue to read, but some definitely look forward to reading it. This was really a fun read for that. And last book from me, and I'll come back in the frame, Powerman and Ironfist issue number 2. The adventures continue on with these two characters. Let me just move right here. Yeah. So in this issue, we get more about the necklace known as the Super Soul Necklace. And this Super Soul Necklace has this power that it can enhance. And Tombstone is like setting out for it because it belonged to him first, because he won it. And both Iron Fist and Powerman found out that the person, Timothy, I don't remember what her name was with Black Mariah. So they have to work together to get back that Silverstone before things get a little bit too haywire. And you know how Powerman's like saying, "Oh, I thought we weren't gonna get together anymore." And I love Iron Fist's his comical thing because it reminds me of Spider-Man.
That's the real Iron Fist.
And that is the real Iron Fist. I have to say that much. And Jay was right about saying that. And like that, like I said, that it's the adventures of going after it, and Black Mariah that has it. What happens to her, was really something.
Now that came out last week. I missed it.
Yeah, Street Fighter, The Life and Death, or Deaths of Charlie Nash, issue number 1. And why you're saying it says deaths? Well, Charlie Nash is not just one man. He is actually a clone. And we don't find that out until the last issue. But in this story, he's just found by this woman who tells him the whole backstory about him being a Marine, working with Guile and Chung-Li, and Guile, who go after him as the future continues because of this secret society. I'm trying to find some good artwork. Yeah, well, I want to show you with Guile.
That's a good one.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll show this one. And also, a bill actually appears in this issue.
I like how the back of all the books have like that chibi, so if you want, you can actually have this as your cover. Because it actually is the same exact thing. So it's cool that you have two sides you could choose.
Yeah. And then he also encounters Wayne Bison, who brainwashes him, and he becomes Agent Shadow, which Bison had him under control. He snaps out of it after Chung-Li and Guile have a fight with him. He goes after Bison, and then in the end, he finds out that the day Charlie Nash did die, was resurrected, and he was also cloned by somebody. And then there was other stuff in here, which was just a little short.
It's a one-shot. It's not really part of the ongoing.
Well, no, it's to be continued. Didn't you see it? It says to be continued. Right here.
This is a one-shot, I heard. Maybe it's to be continued in the game or in the... Because that's number 1. There is no number 2.
Oh, then I don't know.
Street Fighter 5, The Life and Death of Charlie Nash covered. No, it's just a cover check, so I don't know.
It says number 1 and to be continued, so I don't know where, but...
It's going to be continued somewhere.
It'll be continued somewhere. But this was a really great book to read. Definitely check that out. Alright, now we're getting into this week's book, starting with you.
Grimm Fairy Tales number 120. Sky and Lance are going after Bloody Bones. And Sela is trying to grill Ali about where he sent her daughter and Lance. And he doesn't want to tell. They're going to have a hearing whether or not they're going to kick Ali out. This group of people ends up taking Skylar and Lance to prepare them for the fight with Bloody Bones. We also find out that Wolf is kind of upset at Ali, not because what's her name is alive. Oh God, Haley, because Haley's alive, but because he's kind of concerned that she doesn't want to be alive. You know, Ali and Mary brought her back, and they didn't consider that maybe Haley wanted to stay dead. And Ali actually confronts Haley about it, and I think this is what Gemini was also talking to her about, where she's going to make a decision, and it's going to change. It's going to, oh God, I forgot her exact words, but basically she's going to make a decision that ends something. And I think she's going to end up telling Ali to let her go, and she's going to pass on. Bloody Bones does attack Skylar and Lance, and we find out that there's something dark inside of Skylar. And I guess we'll find out what that is in the next issue. I'm enjoying. Patchan is doing an excellent job doing Grimm Fairy Tales. I'm loving this story arc. I don't want to see Pat leave this book. I'm hoping that maybe as they're pushing forward, maybe Pat's going to stick with it, but I think he has an end game with this book, and then we're going to get into some new stuff, but I'm loving Pat Chan's run.
There you go.
This is the second book, Sinestro 21. This is the second book that the only reason it's still even in these reviews is because I'm just reading it to completion. Did it get a little better? After reading through this, we find out that Sinestro's super weak, and Saranic is now running the Sinestro Corps. She's going to run it a bit better than him. You know, obviously she's a good person. Earth is, like Earth, they lose all of their Yellow Lantern rings, obviously. They all leave all of the, like even Superman and Wonder Woman. She takes all the Yellow Lantern rings back, and they end up leaving Earth. And we find, I believe that Saint Walker is freed as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure. But in the end, Saranic is left as the leader of the Sinestro Corps. And the only reason why I believe that Saint Walker was freed was because he asked to stay on Earth and she allowed it. So, to my knowledge, I mean, he looks happy too. So whatever happened, I guess, is undone with Saint Walker. That's my prediction. Is it true? Am I right? Am I wrong? I guess we'll find out as the series moves on. But I didn't see anything to agree or disagree. It looks like I believe he actually is freed from the Yellow Lanterns. I'm not remembering. This is one of the first books I read, but it definitely is worth keeping until the end. Sinestro is a really good book. Hopefully in the Rebirth we'll get a Blue Lantern comic book at some point where Saint Walker tries to rebuild the Blue Lantern Corps, because that would be awesome.
Green Arrow issue number 50. This is the Batman v Superman variant cover.
The only good thing is the Batman v Superman cover, in my opinion.
Yeah. And the issue itself, in my opinion, it did get a bit better. Sort of. It's basically just, Oliver Queen, who is now himself again instead of Wolf, that's going after these other people who are after someone by Jeffrey Paragon, something like that. And there's this thing that's keeping him alive. We have Dr. Miracle with his story about how he heals people and whatnot. Some of it's like really dark, and I don't want to show anything too disgusting or graphic. How's this one?
That's pretty good.
I like this one's fine. And also, Henry V actually gets one of the drones of his own, like what we saw in the other issues before, to work alongside with Green Arrow. And we have the leader of the Wolf clan who goes after the people who want to kill them. And, it's just Oliver Queen who, sees all this happening. And also we get Deathstroke that appears in this issue, who is after Oliver Queen. They have a little bit of a, encounterment with each other, and then it forces Oliver Queen to go down. And, let's just say that there are many people that are after Green Arrow. So it got a little bit better, but I think only 2 more issues until we get into Rebirth.
I don't know if Green Arrow's even coming back.
No,
Oh yeah, I think it is coming back.
Well, yeah, it has to. It's Rebirth.
You know, Green Arrow's coming back, yeah.
So, we'll see. Only 2 more issues to go.
The rest of this review is all Superman, and we're starting with the lowest one, and that is Superman, The Coming of the Supermen. This book was all over the place. We find out that the Supermen are from Kandor. Superman is still protecting this little boy. There were some really good scenes between him and Lois, you know, because Lois doesn't know Clark is Superman, at least to my knowledge. There was a weird moment between Superman and Lex where he's a bit aggressive towards Lex. The artwork's a bit sketchy for me, but if, like myself, you've read Neil Adams' Superman before, you're used to it. So I guess that's me. I'm kind of used to it. But there are certain pages like, you know, like these where it's kind of, you know, not as sketchy, where I can really, you know, I'm used to seeing Neil Adams' artwork. So it turns out Calabac shows up again. He ends up stealing Raffi and taking him through a boob tube. We don't know where. So he's boomed away somewhere. A lot goes on in this book. It is a 5 or 6 issue. I think it's 6. It's a 6-issue miniseries. It's going to follow all the way into Rebirth, definitely, because it's 1 issue a month. So I'm going to be finished, you know, reading this to completion. But, again, one of my lower tier Superman books. Now, the next 2 books, honestly, are back-to-back. First, we got Superman Wonder Woman 27, which has him and the remaining superheroes on Earth fighting against Vandal Savage's kids. Vandal Savage, you know, surviving his fall. Certain people die. I don't want to spoil who, but Vandal goes for the comet, and Superman chases after him to stop him, and he's able to stop Savage, but, well, he catches Savage right before the comet hits, and everybody else is still fighting Savage's kids on Earth. Now we go into Superman, which is the grand finale. And first and foremost, Superman from the old DC universe does not meet Superman from the new DC universe. That is not how this book ends. That does not happen in this book at all. I don't understand why Solicit said that. Maybe they were going to do it. It feels like they took something out and put other stuff in. But anyway, Vandal Savage and Superman end up fighting. There's a lot of different artists in this book, and you can tell as the story goes on, as it changes, you'll see. So Superman ends up fighting Vandal Savage, who all of a sudden becomes a purple firestorm-ish person. And Savage actually takes Superman, you know, he goes into Superman's mind and shows him Krypton, and how Krypton almost was hit by the meteor that was then sent to, well, first he shows him Krypton if the meteor did crash into Krypton, and how one person would be like Vandal Savage and immortal and would lead Krypton into a prosperous tomorrow as their, what do you call it? I forgot how he called him, a leader, a high chief. But it turns out in reality that Krypton noticed the meteor coming, averted it from Krypton. They changed its course, and the course went towards Earth, which created Vandal Savage, which then changes to Earth and what Vandal Savage wants for the future. And he wants Superman to become his general, and he's the high chief, and Superman commands a group of good and mostly bad guys, you know, to defend Earth, and to, you know, and Vandal Savage obviously leads all of humanity. But it turns out this is where Superman's sort of starting to say, this feels right, and then he sees what happens to normal people, or his friends, where Vandal's like, no, the lesser, weaker people need to stay behind, and if you fight me, this is what's going to happen. And in the end, Superman just turns out, you know what, screw you, I'm gonna stop you from getting this meteor. Weirdly enough, Calculator, the Calculator who's working with Savage, you know, Savage sticks the Calculator on Superman. Superman doesn't even give a long speech. He gives like a 2-word bubble speech, and all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I want to be something more. And he ends up fighting with Superman instead of against him. Vandal Savage is like, what, WTF? He shoots off into space. Calculator ends up crashing into the ocean, and Superman ironically crashes right in front of his best friends. And it looks like Superman and Lois are getting even closer. Remember, Superman and Wonder Woman broke up now, and we haven't seen Jonathan in a very long time, which is Lois's boyfriend. So could be a plus. And then we get the classic Superman ending where Superman's having lunch. The world still knows he's Superman. And, you know, there's trouble. And I love how Jimmy's like, go be Superman. And Lois is like, no, go be Clark. And it just ends. It ties up in a nice bow where now the world that hated Superman when he didn't have his powers now loves Superman again. And everything is back to normal. This story arc, other than the fact that Superman's identity was revealed to the world, didn't matter. Just like that, everything that happened in the past couple of months was erased. If you need to know anything out of this story arc, Savage Dawn, or in general, from Powerless to now, is that Superman was revealed to the world. Calculator turned out to be good. Vandal Savage was beaten. And now I look forward to seeing that happen on Legends of Tomorrow, which comes back, I believe, starting this Thursday. Yes, it comes back this Thursday. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And yes, everything's back to normal, except the world knows Superman is Clark Kent. But my favorite book, my favorite Superman book and book of the week goes to Superman American Alien, issue number 5 of 7. 5 of 7. And this book, Superman has become a super good Samaritan, so to speak. And I love the moments in this book with Clark and Lois. Love them. First part, the second one, and I love Francis Manapul's artwork in this book. Oh my God. So glad that we got Francis Manapul for this one. But I gotta say, Superman looks a lot like Batman, and I guess it's because he just talked with Batman in the previous issue. He's got like a Batman-esque cape, a black suit, so he hasn't really adapted to, you know, we haven't seen the Superman costume, the official one yet. And I love that he has that phone conversation on this several panel spread where he's talking to his mom and dad, which I am so happy that Max Landish feels exactly the same way as I do, that Clark needs his parents because they're what make him human. He ends up fighting Parasite. He finds out that Parasite is a product of Lex Luthor. He sends him to Lex Luthor, who basically outsmarts Superman. He basically, he's like, I thought you were a god. I thought you were this. I thought you were that. But in reality, you're just an idiot. You're no Superman. You're just an average, goody, good Samaritan with superpowers. He's like, what are you going to do now? You put him in my office, now what? Do you have proof? Did you see me create him? Did you see this? Did you see that? No. So what you're going to do is, you're going to say you left Parasite with me because I'm the only one that could control him, and that's it. I'm not going anywhere. You're not arresting me, and I'm not in any trouble. And then again, we get that awesome talk between Lois and Clark. And the one thing I gotta agree with Jay that I don't like is that really Lex Luthor's the one that gave Superman his name. But we get that classic, I'll be seeing you around. I'll be around.
Wow, what a message to leave on the window.
Next issue is Angel. I am loving Superman American Alien. #1 book, as always. I enjoyed it. I like how, Max Landish wrote Lex to be smarter and more cunning. This is the Lex Luthor I like. The business Lex Luthor that's really just always a million steps ahead of Superman. This reminds me so much of the 86 to 2011 run. It's amazing. I mean, obviously it's a different telling of how Clark Kent came into himself in Superman. And I'm just loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving the journey of Clark Kent, coming into himself in general as Clark Kent and as Superman, and as Superman is also growing, because this is a story about Clark Kent, not Superman, but we're getting to see the beginning of Superman, or we're getting to see the evolution of Clark when he was a kid all the way up until when he finally becomes red, blue, and yellow Superman, which I am excited to see when we get to that issue, which I'm sure will be issue either the end of 6 or number 7. I'm really looking forward to it. Loving American Alien. Max Landish is doing an amazing job. And with that, that is all for this week's comic review.
So I'll go behind the camera. See you later.
All right. So, as always, guys, feel free to leave your comments below. Let me and Mike know what you guys thought of any of the books we talked about here, and maybe any of the books we missed out on this week. Recommendations are always welcome. There are so many books out there and only so much we can read at once. As always, links in the description below. Check them out in your spare time. Connected to stuff right here on Dark Avengers C86, Comic Frontline, Frontline Gaming Zone, Zone 4 Podcast, and Last Ember Press. Till next time, everybody, take care, keep reading, keep collecting, and I will see you guys really soon in the next video.